must keep in mind that we have a human being in front of us with all the characteristics and needs, different moods, a wealth of unknown experiences that have structured and transformed a person, so he or she is a complex human being like all the others. Visually impaired and blind people, therefore, can be bad, good, ugly, anything. And if we had, for example, an experience with a blind person who was very good, we shouldn't generalize. People can be really different, and this applies to everyone. So, if a person arrives at the hotel, he or she can arrive accompanied or alone. If he or she arrives accompanied, sometimes, very often in reality, it happens that at the reception you turn to the companion. This is not good, because it could be the person who made the reservation, who knows how many days they are staying and all the other data. And then, if we turn to the companion, he or she might even feel belittled. We don't want that to happen with our guests, and so we always talk to the person. The problem could be that perhaps we need eye contact, and therefore we can establish it with the companion. But in this case, we have to regulate ourselves and talk to the person with visual impairment. Then, sometimes, it happens that people raise their voices. But here we must remember again that the person cannot see. Therefore, he or she can hear, listen to, and speak. For example, when you return the document, people usually say, "Here's the document." If the person doesn't see, "Here it is," it doesn't mean anything. We must always verbalize and say right, left, behind, in front. In this case, we must bring the document closer to the person's hand. Place the document in their hand or say, "Here is the document," and bring it closer. And so the person will take it and put it back in his/her wallet or place where he or she can find it again. If the person is not accompanied and comes into the hotel alone with a cane, you must have tactile strips that lead people to the reception. Then, the person can follow these strips with the cane. If not, if we see that the person is a little confused and seems lost, we reach out to him or her and always offer help first. We don't touch it, we don't push it, because if it's all dark and someone touches you, you get scared, and that's stressful. Therefore, it is not done without warning. May I assist you? He or she will answer yes or no. If the person refuses our help, we should not be offended, because he or she has the right to do so like everyone else. If the person doesn't want our help, it means that they can do it alone, and usually visually impaired and blind people want to be independent. First, you need to have a number on the door, which must be large, contrasting, and also tactile. This is the first thing, because if visually impaired or blind persons learn the route to the room, they can easily look for it with their hands. Then, at the entrance, you can hang the tactile map in different colors for the visually impaired people and in relief for blind people, so they can touch it and orient themselves better. In that map, for example, we have the bed, the bathroom. It's a kind of image that a visually impaired or blind person can make of how the room is like, where different things are, etc. Then you need a code of conduct, and it is very useful to have it in braille and with larger text for the visually impaired people. Usually, bedrooms in hotels are more minimalist. There are not so many things. This is good, but you have to be careful of obstacles, so don't leave the luggage everywhere. Put them in one place, and make the person understands where the luggage is. If, for example, there are obstacles on the walls and something at head height, take his or her hand and make touch it. Tell the person what is there, so that the person will pay attention to these details and not get hurt. Then, you must always put things back in their place. For example, after cleaning, because visually impaired and blind people remember where they left their things. If there is no map, you have to guide the person with your hand. Show where the bed is, where the bathroom is, especially in the bathroom, where the shower is, where the toilet paper is, the toilet, etc. The most important things for a guest. If we have a buffet breakfast in the hotel, it is very difficult for visually impaired or blind persons to make do, find things to eat, and in this case you have to offer help again, and probably also guide these persons first to the free seat, and then go around and always describe, verbalize what there is to eat, and then go back with them to the free seat. Make them sit down and then go and get the things your guests want to eat. It's the simplest and fastest way to serve them, in my opinion. If guests are visually impaired and want to do it alone, then you can do this tour again with them or accompany them and let them see where the things to eat are, the savory things, the sweet things, the coffee, where are the plates, where are the cutlery. Then they will do it themselves. For example, if there is an a la carte menu, then you need to have the menu in Braille. This helps a lot if people know Braille. Otherwise, a very modern and very useful thing for visually impaired and blind people who use smartphones is the QR code. People with the screen reader, if using it, can read it themselves and ask what they would like to eat. You always have to pay attention to space, so there must be enough room to pass, to guide them around the tables. An important point is that a waiter, for example, should not be afraid to make the person understand that he or she must not touch the food. There are people who necessarily want to be autonomous and are unable to do so. In these cases, that is, we need to make him or her understand that some rules must be respected, but always in a kind way. So don't be afraid to tell the person not to touch the food. In this case, it would be better to say that it is the house rule and you will serve the food to the guest. Then, another very useful method, for example, if we talk about verbalizing things, if we serve a dish, we can explain where things are by naming them clockwise. For example, saying that the glass is at 2 o'clock, that the meat is at 12 o'clock, etc. This way, blind people can orient themselves and better understand where the food is on the plate. As we have already underlined, the most important thing is to verbalize, and tour guides verbalize a lot. Then, describe even more, compare, tell more details. If there is the possibility of touching some materials, if there is a replica or a model, a person can touch the walls. Anything that can help them to make an image of what is in front of them helps blind people a lot. I recommend that you also pay attention when constructing the tourist tour. We must therefore pay attention to obstacles, to choose paths perhaps more accessible to blind and visually impaired people. If we accompany them, then again we need to verbalize things, steps, obstacles, barriers, where we are, So, the person can also be present and practically participate in the journey we take together. The most important thing when it comes to an accessible website is to make it accessible to screen readers that many blind and visually impaired people use. This is the task of a web designer, but in short, it means that all the elements that are on the page can be recognized by these screen readers, which names them, and so a blind person knows what is on the page and can interact with it. We must then have options for different types of disabilities, as well as the different functions that concern the size of characters. There must be contrasts. This is the first thing, in my opinion. Different contrast options, so some people prefer black background and white letters, a black and yellow contrast, etc. And you also need to have photos, for example, described, because the screen readers cannot understand that object is a photo and what is on the photo.